We have had entirely too much rain on the homestead. Last year, 2018, was the wettest year for Western North Carolina ever. Most areas saw 80 to 100 inches of rain. It has just been crazy. In 2019, we've had rain almost every single day, almost. In the last month, it's rained almost every single day. And not just a light rain, but a constant, you don't want to go outside rain. You don't want to do anything. Tons of mud on the homestead. We are trying to combat the mud with some strategies. We had a swell and berm built by a friend of ours with our tractor. And that does help, but it is tough to battle in this mud. I'm actually on our driveway. If you can see it behind me, this has never done this before in 5 years. This whole area, our creek is at a pretty steady flow. There is constant water flow coming out of our drainage pipe. So we have a pipe that goes underneath the driveway and then links back up with the creek. And this is constantly flowing here. This has been doing this for the last month. It'd be cool to hook up a water wheel or something. Eventually, I think that would be fun. Even if it's not like hydropower, just, to build something cool like that. But our driveway, unfortunately, turns into a third creek when it rains. And we have been doing things to combat that. Amy also used our tractor to build a pretty significant ditch that I'll show you. But with this much rain, it's really hard to battle. What else? Even though it's been horrible weather, we have gotten a few things done. I've started seeds inside. I got about 300 seeds growing. Plants have sprouted. In less than 3 days, I had plants sprouting. I was pretty impressed. But something you have to do even in the bad weather is you still have to feed the animals. So I'm going to go ahead and feed our animals. That's kind of a bummer when it's bad weather. A lot of people can stay indoors. But if you have animals, you got to take care of them. Our horses, were worried about hoof problems right now. We had some boots on one of our horses, and they disappeared in the mud. We don't know where they are. I'm going to try to find those boots for Amy, but it's going to be a battle even to find these missing boots that could be 2 feet sunk into the mud. But you do got to feed animals no matter what, because you want your animals to be healthy and to survive. So you got to feed them. But nobody's enjoying the mud. We're not enjoying it. The horses aren't. The goats, the pigs, the bees are not enjoying it, I'm sure. Moisture is a big killer of bees. I haven't been able to open up my hive in about 2 weeks because it's been rainy. Chickens aren't really enjoying it. If we had ducks would probably enjoy this wet weather to an extent, but really nobody else is. Our dogs, we have 3 dogs and 4 cats. They don't want to go outside either, so our house has been very cozy and kind of muddy too, especially on the entranceway. But let's go ahead and feed these animals and check on them. It really is hard to get motivated when you have such crummy weather. But, you gotta look at the bright side, I guess. This area is kind of flooded. I don't know how much. I mean, maybe an inch, 2 inches of water in some places by the barn. Not a great thing. I actually got this broken chicken coop. I got to do some work on it, but I got it for free off of Craigslist, so I decided to take a risk. I'm going to probably turn that into a quail coop. So here's one of the strategies we are using to try to combat the mud problem, and it's actually working pretty well. I'll show you our swell and berm, and it's tough to say that something is dry when it is covered in water, but if you compare that swell and berm area to anywhere else on the farm, it is relatively dry. But here is a giant ditch. It's kind of another swollen berm almost, that Amy used our tractor. She wasn't sure if she could do it. We haven't had a chance to use a lot of the implements, but she did it. She did an amazing job. And if you can see, the water is flowing straight from our dry lot into this ditch. So that is preventing a lot of this water from going into our round pen. A big problem what we've had is the sand from our dry lot, the sand from our round pen washes away into the garden, and then my garden gets sandy. But she did a pretty good job on this ditch. Let's take a closer look at it. Ooh. Muddy, 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 muddy. So far she's done a pretty awesome job with this drainage system to start. We still got to do some work on the end, but this is draining a significant amount of water off of our round pen, and eventually we're going to fence off this little section. That's a big problem about homesteading in the mountains, is erosion. This little section from the fence to the round pen, we have a pretty big erosion problem. We're gonna fence that off, but since we're fencing it off, I get to plant plants there, which is always good. Finding room to plant plants is sometimes tough for me. A lot of our property is for the horses, and it's hard sometimes to find a good spot to plant stuff. But if we're gonna fence that off, I'm gonna plant, I think, a bunch of elderberries there. Again, everything is soaked in mud. The goats are not happy. This little creek normally is not a creek. It is just a drainage ditch, but I'm gonna show you this other creek that has formed. I'm in our goats enclosure. The goats are up there eating. No one looks great right now. Everybody's muddy, not happy. They do have their shelter, and if it gets too bad, we can bring them in the barn, but our goats are pretty hardy, actually. Fainting goats. They have a decent coat, and they're in a dry shelter that I built for them. But again, this little creek normally is more or less bone dry, but with all of this rain, all of this crazy precipitation, this spring that normally doesn't run is at a pretty decent flow. I know this doesn't look crazy to some people, but for someone that's been on this property for 5 years, this doesn't run like this that often. Again, nothing but mud and rain. Property does not look good. But not everyone's gonna show you the crummy part of homesteading. This is one of the crummy parts of homesteading, is having to do stuff in the rain. This mud is really soft right now. I'm even gonna show you my garden, which it's February, there's nothing too exciting, but I'm gonna show you what's happening. Even though it's February and the rain has picked up, even though it's February, I want to show you the state of my garden. There's not a lot happening. I need to clean this out. I'll probably put the goats in here at some point. But I'm trying some new strategies in the garden that I'll talk about in a future video. I do have, right here, I'm going to show you real quick, I planted garlic in the fall. So this is my garlic bed. In the past, it's been my potato bed, but I'm taking a break from potatoes this year. But let me show you my garlic. Okay, so here is my garlic. I got more garlic. This entire bed, I know it needs to be weeded, but this is garlic for my family for the year. I am going to plant a little bit more, but I probably have 20 cloves of garlic for a family of 3. That is pretty good. I also planted some fava beans, which Amy was in England a few months ago for some horse competition stuff she was doing, and she brought me back fava beans, which I could probably get these in America somewhere these days, but we've never had fava beans, and these are a cold hardy bean, so check out my fava beans. Fava bean, fava bean, fava bean, maybe fava bean. So there is life in the garden, and right here actually, this is rhubarb. So if you haven't had rhubarb before, it's one of those plants that people have forgotten about, but it's making a comeback. Here is my rhubarb. It's a beautiful plant, isn't it? So there is life on the farm right now. It is just muddy life. I planted some other rhubarb there. I don't see that coming up, but that's okay. The beehives are dry on the inside, but the bee yard is pretty wet. So it is getting nasty out here. I got some more garlic here. Let's see if any asparagus is popping up. You know what? I don't see any asparagus. This is my old asparagus bed. I do not yet, I don't think, see any asparagus heads popping up, but that's okay. I just wanted to do this video. Life has gotten busy, so I'm not making as many videos right now, but that's okay. I just wanted to show you what we're dealing with. In the comments below, tell us what the weather is doing for you. Are you dealing with snow, tons of rain? Is it actually nice where you're at? If you enjoy this video and our channel, check out our other videos. Like, subscribe, and do all of that stuff. Until next time, stay warm and stay drier than me.